Mastery is defined as achieving the highest level of skill and knowledge in a particular field or activity. But what isn't very well known is that the mastery of anything is a journey, not a destination. My name is Jacob Panisi. I'm the fitness director at Millsap's training facility. I'm joined with Brian Johnson, the head trainer at Millsap's training facility. Together, we created this podcast to be your guide as you navigate the journey of mastering motocross. Welcome to MX Mastery. Okay, we're back. MX Mastery podcast. Welcome, Jacob Panisi and
Brian Johnson.
All right, so to kick things off, we wanted to just touch on the whole Eli Tomac and Sexton event. You know, obviously, there's been so much speculation, and we've had the luxury of kind of sitting back and letting everybody do the heavy speculation, really when they have no idea. At the end of the day, you know, everybody kind of makes their opinions. They put them out there probably too quickly. So we've kind of sat back and saw what happened, and, you know, I figured we'd just start by giving our thoughts. So I don't know if you want to kick it off.
I mean,
with anything you saw.
Yeah, there's been everything from the boot to how he was on his foot, you know, the suspension being softer. I mean, you can go on, and I'm sure you're going to touch on that. And, you know, I think it was just a racing incident, and he kind of expected it to land a certain way, and, you know, it bottomed a little bit more, and just wrong place, wrong time. And sometimes it happens, you know, it's like falling in a turn and you twist your leg the right way. It was barely an impact, no different, and you've done it 20 times worse, you know, many times, and you're perfectly fine. So, you know, it could be anything, you know, just a little fatigued, you know, and you can go on and speculate so many different reasons, and everybody's going to have their opinion, but you never can go back and do it a little different to see what would have happened. You can't go back and tighten his boot buckle. You can't go back and have stiffer suspension, you know. So, you know, everybody is going to speculate on certain things, and I just think it was a racing incident that, you know, he had a little bit too much of an impact, and it tore it, you know.
See, and I'm with you. I think that it's almost one of those moments where the stars aligned in the wrong way for him, and it was like a 1 in a million chance that kind of thing would happen, especially to somebody that's been so dominant and so consistent. And, you know, everybody, it was almost like a race to see who could put out their opinions first, and they were all pointing out different aspects. And there were lots of interesting things that came out. Like we know the round before was pretty hard packed, so everybody was kind of searching for a softer setting. That's why they really highlighted the guys like, you know, Justin Hill had a career best finish because he softened up his suspension. He's used to the California tracks, and, you know, with it being a little bit slicker, they like to run a little softer suspension. So there was speculation that Eli was searching. You know, maybe he softened his up for Colorado, because usually Colorado is historically pretty hard packed, pretty slick. So when you watch that video back, you do see he truly does bottom out, and it looks kind of weird, but he maxes out the suspension. It's almost like his body was prepared for the hop, or, you know, like he was ready just for the next unload of the suspension, but it never came, and it like hit true bottom. And, you know, if he had known that it was going to happen that way, maybe he would have shifted his foot a little further forward and not been so on the balls of his feet. But, you know, that's where, you know, his good technique, he's like that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if you take a step sometimes, you know, off a step. I don't know if you've ever done it, and you kind of expected the ground to be there, and it wasn't, right? And it really throws everything off guard, you know? So
exactly.
I think that's really ultimately what happened in that situation. And, you know, the boot, you know, but he's rode with those boots so many times. You know how many times he's bottomed out. You know how many times he's had hard impacts, you know, and nothing happened, you know. It just was, like you said, the stars aligned for the wrong thing, you know. And, you know, whether he was searching for different suspension, maybe not. You know, I don't think he was, at this time and this point, he was really searching for anything. You know, he probably had so many base settings on different tracks, different things, and what he liked, that I don't think he was making big adjustments, you know, that could swing one way or another when he was points leader, had a good cushion, and just kind of needed to go do his job, especially with everybody that was out, right? It was pretty hard for him to not get the points that he needed to in the next few races.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, you look at everybody speculated about his boots. You know, again, like they did a new boot launch. These guys, sometimes they get their brand new boots like the morning of the race. And if you've ever tried to wear brand new boots, like they're very stiff. And if you have all the safety measures in place, you feel like you lose your feeling. You can't feel the brake. You can't feel the shifter. Like you lose that ankle flexion. And so for him, I know that Alpine Stars, they purposely make him some softer boots just to help him feel comfortable on race day. The picture leaked about he had a looser buckle, which if you're watching this on video, I'll put the pictures up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. His bottom boot buckle right around the ankle was a little bit loose. It wasn't even touching the boot. Wasn't pulling anything in, that's for sure. Then also like the shock absorption bars that are in the front of the ankle, his were gone completely. I know you said maybe sometimes the pros don't run those anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all personal preference, right? Some people cut them, some people take them out, some people don't like them at all. But yeah, with the pros and they get new boots so often, especially the top guys, from new boots to new gear, whatever they like in that moment, especially if they're bringing in a new set, that's what they're going to use, right? They want to be as comfortable as possible that day, and that's what they're going to do, whether it's a little less, stability in the boot or, a little bit more. Some people like that feeling, and some people don't. Same with knee braces compared to no knee braces. It's just personal preference, no right or wrong, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I know that was Gage Linville who actually pointed out he usually cuts those shock absorption bars in the front, but if you look at the picture, they're completely gone. So he clearly just doesn't run them. So the stars align for the wrong reasons. Poor Eli, man. I mean, that was the multi-million dollar Achilles that snapped on him, and I'm sure he would love to have that back. But inevitably, Chase somehow, some way, is going to end up winning the title. I mean, as long as Eli doesn't line up, which we all know he's not going to. He's got a good points gap on everybody else. So,
yeah, Eli's the only one that can beat him. So he's in a place that obviously it's sunk in this week that he is champ, but kind of in a way that it's like you're probably not even going to be as excited as it would be in the moment because he already knows, yes, he's going to be excited, right? And, but deep down it's a feeling that, is I think overall going to be a little different than if he crossed the finish line this weekend with Eli out there and became the champion. Something that he doesn't want, but at the same time, I can't say he doesn't want, right? Yeah, he feels bad for the situation, but he's not bummed that he's going to become the champion, right? Especially after the year he's had, and everybody was quick to jump on that he's made so many mistakes and he throws it away and but you look at it now at the end of the season and he clearly did the best job out of everybody, and kept it together. Won many races, had some tip overs, but seems to be just getting more solid as the year goes on and learning from some mistakes and maybe searching for a little bit of bike setup. When you're going that fast, as they are, it's, you're talking small angles that, where he washes the front and things like that. He's searching for a little bit more traction and, tires give out and, they start to wear out. So there's just so many things. Once again, you can speculate on what it is. Is it bike? Is it tires? Is it tire pressure? Is it? I mean, you can go on, and I'm sure they search every ins and out. And sometimes they're like, man, I don't feel like it's me, but it could be just something giving out a little bit and not adjusting to it that late in the race. I think Villapoto was saying that about certain things with certain tires that he used to like so much in the beginning, but at the end he would have to adjust to it a little because and certain tracks the tires would basically be all the knobbies would be gone, so it's going to be a different feel in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, if it frustrates us so bad seeing him wash his front, like, how do you think he feels? He's definitely way more upset that he's pushing the front and doing things like that, but I really think a lot of it is probably set up, but I do think part of it is like he just really doesn't know how fast to go out front. Like, he gets out front, he sprints, and he's pushing the edge even when he doesn't really need to, and he just doesn't have that experience leading. And I think he truly just doesn't know how fast do I need to go to keep these guys behind me. Like, he does a good job of keeping tabs on them, but I think he just he kept pushing those tight angles like you were talking about when he didn't really need to, and that's when the mistakes come in, especially as the track is the worst it's been, and it's only getting worse, lap after lap.
Yeah, and if you really went down and broke apart every lap and where he goes, you're talking, you change 2 to 3 feet coming into a turn and you do it the same speed, that's going to change how your bike reacts, plus you have to take into consideration that lines, if that was the main line, 20 other riders went through that line the lap before, right? So it's always changing, and I always liked Dungy how he rode on certain things. When he would come here and ride at Colleen's track, it was crazy. And watching his races, that when he had the track to himself the lines that he could choose, you could basically from lap 1 to lap 10 to lap 15, you had probably like a 6-inch margin that he was going to hit every single time. And even when he was out there practicing, but he was very, persistent on doing that even in practice. So less things changed, and it kind of a reason why he was very consistent as well, in my eyes.
Yeah. And when you look at his Chase's seasons in the past, like this is not, I feel bad right away because all the haters start, of course he gets this title handed to him again, but there were so many differences between this season and the season with Faulkner. Like the one with Faulkner, like, yeah, he got his butt kicked every round, and then he didn't win until Faulkner was injured, and then he won the title. But this one, like, there were so many nights where he was the best guy, and he left a lot of points. I mean, with jumping on the right cross, giving back 7 here, crashed out of this one, crashed out of that one. I mean, if this was almost the one for him that truly got away, because he was better than Eli most nights. But, that's where the champ comes out in Eli, and he ends up on top somehow. So
yeah, and Eli, you look at his year, he started up front a lot more this year, Yeah. I mean, Chase started up front as well, and led a lot of races, won a lot of races. But it's learning, You got to think where Eli was back at, his second, third, fourth year of 450, how many mistakes he made. It's a learning process, and nobody can really understand that, because not many people are in that situation, and being that competitive, the bike's as good as they are, and being as young as he is and becoming as fast as he is, right? Like it gets to certain things, like maybe it's not setup, maybe it's not tire, maybe it's just, you're going so fast that certain things are going to happen, right, at times, and it just seems like in the wrong place, wrong time, however you want to look at it, and it's hard to, pull your guard down a little, even when you're leading by 5 seconds, because, Tomac or somebody like that they catch wind that they're gaining on you a little in 5 laps, and, they see that, then all of a sudden you make a mistake or two, and boom, that race was lost anyway, He probably feels like I'd rather lose crashing than him catching me, and then it looks like he's actually better.
Yeah, right. And that's going to give Eli a lot of confidence, if that were the situation. And in the time it takes you to have the thought, hey, I might be able to win that, boom, hit the ground, push the front, some small little mistake, and the guys behind you are so fast that, any mistake and they're going to pounce on you.
Yeah, and you can't blame Chase for thinking about it a little bit, right? I mean, I promise you he watches the races. First thing he hears is everybody talking about, oh, he's going to throw it away again. So, knowing all that, it's very hard to block that out of your mind when you're racing. You're like, all right, I'm at 5 minutes.
And I'm leading.
Yeah, and I'm leading. And
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, for sure. It's just almost impossible not for that thought not to come up. You got to block it out and keep moving forward. But when it's all that talked about, if he gets on social media, he does anything, it's like, boom, it'll pop up. And he's like, God, I don't want this to happen,
I wish he would have stood his ground a little bit more to Daniel Blair when he called him out in the press conference. He's like, I know the TV announcers were probably waiting for me to mess up. And then Daniel stands up. He's like, why are you looking at me? And Chase, like, kind of backed off, and he's like, no, I wasn't looking. He should be like, yeah, dude. Like, you say it more than anybody. Like, Of course I'm going to look you in the eye and tell you to stop waiting for me to crash.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, so $1 million question. Does Eli retire? Is he coming back, or is he done?
Man, I would, I saw where even James said that he thinks Eli's done. I've talked to Jeremy, and he said he's 50-50, and I would kind of say I'm more 75% that I would think he's done, knowing how many years he's had straight to be where he is, knowing he was going to win the championship, he was the best guy overall. Other than this happening, he's still kind of going out on top, and this is going to be I would say a nagging injury that when he comes back, he's not going to feel 100%. He is older. He does have a family. There's a lot of things that I think maybe it's going to just steer him to be wanting to retire, if I was in his shoes, with the accomplishment, like what he's accomplished. He's won, everything now. So what else is there? And yes, he was feeling so good. Everything was great. And so that's why I think he continued to sign on, because he's like, I'm not ready. I'm just having so much fun. I'm getting better, and now you look at something like this, that I was good, I was fit, everything was great, and boom, this jumped up out at me, so probably I think that's going to make him want to retire a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're probably on the right track there. And like, just from talking with the other guys at Star and just kind of seeing what his training regimen has been like the guy has such a solid foundation that he doesn't have to grind like that anymore. Like, he was in the best shape of his life. He lives and trains at altitude, so he feels good on the bike. I don't think his off the bike program was very intensive, and I don't think he rode very much. Like, I think he was just that good that he could coast and still be, a title contender. And this injuries, it's definitely going to change that a lot for him.
And I don't think, like you said, coast, or he didn't have to train that hard. It just, you've got so many years built up, that you can't, when people get injured and they take 3 months off here, they take 2 months off there, they take 5 months off, they miss an outdoor season. Like, so many races over the last, I think, when was the last time he was out? 2015?
Yeah, it's been a long, since his collarbone from Colorado, I believe.
Well, that was both shoulders. It wasn't even collarbone. It was, torn shoulders, I think 1 or 2, and so I think,
thought he also had a collarbone.
Yeah, maybe, but
I could be wrong.
The shoulders was definitely the big one. Yes, he's had some little things here and there, but nothing that really has taken him out.
No, ever since he got on Cowie, he's been there that's why I was talking about last time. He's like, of the active riders, he has the most consecutive starts. And
do you know what that was?
What?
How many consecutive starts was it?
No, I don't know how many off the top of my head. I should probably look that up before I say a number. That's why I'm not saying a number, but it's a lot.
Most of everybody right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even think of the last race he missed.
Yeah.
Whereas every other person, like, Chase missed a handful last year, AC missed a handful, Barsha, Roxon missed some. Like, everybody in the last couple of years has missed races except for Eli.
Yep.
And I think a big factor, at least in Eli's mind, and maybe not, I could be totally off, but how good of a season Chase and Jet both have. Because if they do nothing but build momentum and they both crush it in the outdoors, and then they go on and do super motocross and some off-season races, and if they're like ready to go and he's just coming back, he may not have anything for them. If he's trying to come back from an Achilles, I could see if they have problems or they develop some nagging injuries or they're not maybe in the best form of their life, maybe he feels like he has a better shot. But the veteran in him is what would have got him the title this year, and straight up speed. Chase had him beat almost every round.
So and talking about Jet and him moving up, sometimes it's right place at right time. And if he does compete the entire season, I would say it's the right place at the right time, because there's so many guys that are out, and the stars align for him. He could possibly be an outdoor champion, on a 450, and
absolutely,
because with so many guys out, you're looking at who does he really have to race in outdoors that is his level. Right now it's Chase. Who else is even?
No one's going to put up that kind of a fight. It's going to be a Jet and
is
Chase
Anderson
show.
lining up on the first round?
He might be.
Yeah, but there's still some mites, but 10 guys out, with no Roxon, no Eli. Dylan's going to be for Anderson. Going to be
Dylan will be a threat.
Yeah, he's going to be one of the main ones, and but same thing, right? He missed some last year, now missed some this year, right? So we'll see. Yes, he's going to be a threat, but is he going to be as good as he was when he didn't miss those races, right? Kind of what we talked about. He's going to kind of be in building and getting back into the swing of things, and and yes, on paper he should be a really good guy, but even like Jet, he hasn't missed any time, coming off confidence in what he did at Des Nations, and then same with Sexton, now he has all of Supercross, he has those gate drops, so all of those things add up and sometimes make a big difference when that gate drops on those longer motos too.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be halfway through the season before Dylan really feels comfortable, and it's a new bike, and I don't know how he's gelling with it. Maybe he likes it.
Yeah, I know he's liked the chassis since he's got on it, so he was here today riding and still making some little adjustments. He
looks good.
Yeah, he does
fast.
look really good. He is going to be good.
Yeah.
But all those guys look good in practice. It doesn't matter what factory guy you bring. You're like, he's ripping. He is going fast.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody's gonna go faster than him, and that's why everybody, the stopwatch wars come out next week in California when everybody gets out there, and it's pretty close with usually who's gonna be where.
Yeah. Yep. So trust me, nobody was any more bummed than me. I was huge. I wanted Eli to get the fairy tale ending. I wanted him to win the title. And Chase, I love watching Chase ride. I think he's great for the sport. I think he's, obviously his time is right now. So congrats to Chase. Sorry, Eli, I'm bummed for you. But
yeah, I mean, racing. I could have went either way, as far as I would have liked it not to go this way,
Yeah.
And same with Cooper, it would have been really cool for all of them coming in the last round and made a really exciting race, and then whoever won, best man let them win, I mean, I kind of like the little games Cooper plays with them at times and tries to get in their head is pretty funny, and then, you have even people say about Sexton, if he wouldn't have got that red cross flag, he would have been 7 points closer, it would have made these last few races even that much closer, a little bit more pressure, and so some things worked against him that it kind of made it a far shot for him to get it done in these last 4 races, unless something crazy happened, which it did, and now he's going to be the 2023 Supercross champ.
Yep, it's crazy. You never really know until it's over.
Nope,
it's never over. That's why props to Chase for just keeping his head down, not listening to the haters, and just keep trying to win races.
Yep.
That's literally the only thing he's done.
And you would hear him let's see what kind of damage I can do, in these last 5. Let's see if I can close the gap, and that's all. That was his mindset, because it's not over until it's over, and that maybe helped this happen,
Well, it's crazy because after the mud race, I think he took himself out. I think he, not in the race literally, but I think he's like, okay, the championship, something's really going to have to go my way to be a champion. So, let's just focus on winning races. And that mentality takes a lot of pressure off, in the sense of the title. Obviously, it's still a lot of pressure to win races, and it's very hard to do.
Yeah.
But it just kept him focused on what he could control.
Yep, definitely.